Thank you, everybody, for joining us for today's pottery demonstration with Aaron Cajero. So those of you who are familiar with MIAC and our programming know that pre-pandemic, we regularly hosted pottery demonstrations in our Bucksbaum gallery. And even though we are now open to the public, we are continuing our pottery demonstration series on Zoom for the time being. So we kicked off this virtual series in February with Karen Abeda, continued in March with Randy Cheeto, April with Jacob Fry, May with Kathleen Wall, and today in June with Aaron Cajero. So stay tuned for details on upcoming demonstrations and other programs by following our Facebook page. First of all, I'd like to briefly acknowledge the place where this conversation is happening, even though we are in a virtual space in Okopoke within the Tewa world. As a non-native person living in so-called Santa Fe, I am a guest in the ancestral homelands of the Tewa people. And I wish to acknowledge all of the indigenous people, Pueblo, Navajo, Apache, and so many others, past, present, and future, who walk on these lands and steward these places. So I'm just going to briefly introduce Aaron and then hand it over to him. So Aaron Cajero is a member of the Fire Clan from Jemez Pueblo. He began working with clay art in 1993. He learned the traditional way of hand coiling pottery using ancient methods by members of his family. They taught him all of the fundamentals of working with clay art forms. And Aaron specializes in a very unique style of pottery, a contemporary hand-polished style. So we are all in for a real treat today. So at that, Aaron, I think I'll hand it over to you if you're ready to get started.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hey, and greetings from Jemez Pueblo. Yes, we are one of the only last Towa speaking tribes here in New Mexico. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of us way back when, and now there's only us left. Yeah, so we live in the Pueblo here, and we're up in the north, kind of the northwest in the Jemez Mountains. It's about maybe 25 miles northwest of Bernalillo, going up. And once you get to San Isidro, up to Highway 4 and go straight, you'll run right into this. That road goes up to Jemez Springs, Los Alamos, Cueva up on top. Yeah, I'm a traditional potter with a little bit of, I guess, contemporary thrown into it. You know, we were basically known for our black and white pottery that we made, but as time went on, till now, I guess the creativeness of the artists have, shown that there's other colors and other ways that we could make different types of pottery. So I still do some black and white. And that one is waterproof. The clay that's used to make that one is waterproof. So that's how they were using the pottery in decorative styles, also in their cooking and their gathering of water and storages. Today, the pottery that I make I use the clay that's here. Actually, I live on it. You know, it's clay all around me. I kind of just go outside and collect it outside. Where I live now, a place called Sheep Springs, and we call it Sheep Springs clay. We call it in Jemez, in Towa. And there's another source up on top of the hill, they call it on the top of the hill clay. And so we can use either or. Most the artists, the potters here in Jemez, will have a picker of one or the other. I like using this clay because, one, it's right next to me, but another thing is it's easy to work with. It doesn't take that much cleaning on it. It's just basically got some roots in it, but that's about it. So it's easy to clean. It's easy to work with. It's right outside the house, and I like it. With that too, we also mix a temper white dirt, volcanic ash type of dirt that we mix the clay so it can be, made into pottery, because if it's just the clay alone, it'll just crack, So we add a temper to it, and I have some that I've already mixed, and here's a ball that I kind of made, and so you got to make it into clumps like this, And usually when I do mix it, I'll mix a whole bunch. And I have some in the shop already that I mixed the other day. And so this is what it looks like when it's raw. And here and here. So what I wanted to do to start off the day was go ahead and show you the steps. So I'll do a quick run through first of how it's processed and all that. So basically, we'll go outside and I'll dig it out, and we'll go ahead and um, grind it. So I grind it, then I sift it, and I sift it all the way to 100 mesh, and that takes like, golly, 2 days, 2 to 3 days, just that part. And then, because I'll do a bunch, I'll do maybe 2 buckets full. Then the white sand, the white temper, that also needs cleaning too. And we go get that up on the side of the mountain over there, to the northwest side of the mountain. That's where we gather that, and then bring that home, and that needs sifting too. And I'll sift that to 100 mesh also. And then when I get to both too, I'll have there's a recipe that I use, to measure, because if you use too much clay, your pots will crack. If your pottery will start cracking. If you use too much of the white temper, then it's too sandy. Then you won't get the building, the stiffness that you want. So it's a trial and error. You gotta really, you know, make your own recipe basically, because it depends on what you like and what you're gonna make. So then that's done. Then the two are mixed together with water and combined to make this. So and then when that's done, you can go ahead and make your piece. So, and after you made your piece, you set it to dry. So the next part would be to have it dried and have like a pot like this. Okay, this is a small pot, and working on a wedding vase. So this one is already made this one's ready for the next phase of sanding. So we're gonna go ahead and sand this one. And once it's sanded, then we're gonna do a wet sanding to get it to where it looks like this. So this one's real rough. So this one is still rough. So and it'll probably take about maybe 2 good sandings to get this real nice to where it looks like this one. So when it turns into this one and get it to like this, then we'll do a wet sanding, and I'll do that one in a little bit. And then once that's done, we'll do some carving maybe on one to get the deep carving aspects of the pot that we're going to do, or your design, whatever design you're going to put on it. Then it'll go to the next phase where either what colors that I'm going to use, and the colors that I use are here. This one's the red. This one I have a green. This one is a mica orange. It's got mica in it. This one is the white slip. This one is a white slip, but at the firing it turns gold. And this one also does the same thing. It's a brown slip with mica in it that turns gold also after the firing. This one, it's kind of like a purple color. So in the firing, it turns a purple. Yeah. So, and this one is another one. It's a different type of a darker red that we found up in the hills and the mountains over here. And all these colors are found here in the Jemez in our backyard over here. So it takes a lot of walking and hiking and looking, testing, bringing them home, cleaning them, testing them, and firing them to see what color he turns out. And also if they stick, because some of them will, with a lot of trial and error, they'll rub off. They won't, combine the chemical, I guess, reactions to the clay, to the slip. Some of them rub off, so you gotta that one you can't use, so you go to the next one. And so these are the ones that I've found that do work for this clay that we're building from. So then the next step, like I said, would be the clay process, the stone polishing. So, and the stone polishing, and then the next one would be the painting, adding the next colors. Then once it's all painted, then you fire it outside with, I use a juniper cedar wood, then fire it. Then once it's fired, you can also etch it before the firing too, when it's still kind of soft. And I do that too with the bigger pieces. But with the smaller pieces, I'll wait till it's fired, then do the etching work on it. Okay, so that's kind of the last step. So let me go back. That's kind of a run through of the process of what we use. So right now I'm gonna see about, I made a ball. I'm gonna make a little pot. So what I'm doing is I got water here. You need water along with what you're working with. So I'll start off with a pinch pot and work it to where, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but I can talk along the process too. So it starts off as a ball, and you just go ahead and work it. And so this ball, if I do a little bit bigger size, I could put into a cookie, call it cookie or a bowl, put it into a bowl like this. And from there, you make your first foundation, I guess you could call it the foundation of a pot, a larger pot. So from there, you would actually start rolling out your coils. And when you start rolling out your coils, you get them about maybe an inch, maybe thickness, or half an inch, depends on how high or how big you're gonna go. The bigger pots, we've seen that they'll need a lot more clay. So, and then say like this was going to be a big pot, a larger pot. So from here, say you would add the coils to this one and start building up and smoothing it out. And usually I use a gourd shell, from a gourd. So, and with this, you could kind of build them up and smooth out the insides, because it's kind of a half moon shape. Kind of not too. I got a spoon, use a spoon, same process. And then all that time you're smoothing it out with a sponge too. So so you don't have to go back later and fill in the gaps and holes. So so that's this first step of building something up. And so, but when you do complete this will, when I get to at least about a little bit higher to it, I'm gonna turn it upside down, and I'm gonna let it sit like this upside down for at least, I don't know, about an hour maybe, and then I'll come back to it, so it hardens up just a little bit, because when it's kind of soft, and when you start, it'll start coming down. So I like to get them a little stiff and a little harder before going on to the finishing step. So what you want to do is just keep building it up by hand. So this one won't be a big pot. We can make I was gonna grab one of these finished ones, but might get them all dirty with my fingers, clayed up with a bunch of clay on my fingers. So, but this clay starting to look pretty good. You don't want them too thick too, but if you're going to carve in deep, and I'll show you some pieces that I have that I do carve pretty deep. Then I polish them, and I then I'll etch them too. So I do have pieces that I do um, a lot of work on, to where they're they're carved out, or they're made and they're carved, then they're stone polished, and they got multiple colors of paints, and then they're etched. So I do the some pieces I'll put in all the processes that I use. Some I just do the deep carving and stone polishing, and I'll show you those. And some I just etch, just like I used to do a whole lot of just plain etching way back in the day when I started, way back. And so I started just doing the pots and doing the red and etching, and I started that way. But then I moved on to, because I started finding all these colors when I'm out hunting and hiking, and well, especially when I'm out hunting, just you're out walking around and you come across especially when there's snow on the ground, you start slipping and sliding, and all of a sudden you fall, on your behind, and you look, what the heck, so slippery, and you just slipped on some clay. Uh, so that got me wondering. So I, started feeling a little. Well, carry water, so I'll take a bunch and I'll start putting it in my hand and start, messing with it. And hey, this is clay. I wonder what color this would turn. Or I wonder if you could build a pot with this. So I would gather it, put it in a plastic bag, and bring it home and work on it, test it, and hey, if it works, and I'll GPS it, or back then I didn't have GPS, but I just remember where I was, and then I go back later, and maybe in the summer when it's not, when the weather's better, then I go up there and pick it, gather some clay and um, bring it home and see what happens, because you can build with all these colors that I have. You can actually make a pot or make pottery with that clay. You just have to add the temper in it, and you can make a red pot. You can make a green pot. You can make a orange pot. You can make a kind of a gold pot. So that's in my. You might see some of those in the Indian market this year. If I'm thinking of doing some of those too. So, but this style has been very good to me. I've won many awards at the art shows with this style, because basically I'm only, you know, some are starting to catch the trend, but I was the only one doing this type of style with the multiple colors, with the carving and the etching, and from Jemez Pueblo, And I've also taught my son, Aaron Jr., and my daughter, Terry Cajero. Terry will be sharing a booth with me at the Indian market, and she's become a very outstanding award-winning artist herself now too. And my son too, he's done very well in his pots too. And so, but with these colors, we're the only family that does use the colors. And um, but I'm sure other pueblos have a backyard, and they probably got colors out there too, and they could probably do the same thing I'm doing. But these are found right in my backyard here in the Jemez Mountains, right here on our reservation. So everything I can claim that I don't go anywhere else to find uh, my supplies. My art store, my art supplies is right here. So this is what the pot started to look like. Okay, so I can close it if I want and make like a seed pot, or make a different types from here. You can still go and uh, you know do something. You do some, or I could put it in the pookie again and start adding and start. I don't want to go too far much out because of the shape of it it's in right now. So I can start going up a little bit higher, maybe make it a little bit taller. Or I could close it and make the hole on top maybe smaller. Or I could make a kind of a wavy design on the top. Or I could make some kiva design steps on it too. Once it starts to dry, when it gets real hard, I can go ahead and cut out some pieces out of it. And or I can make a real nice kind of a flat type of a pot, or kind of a because from here I could go kind of down and maybe make it this tall, and so I can still do quite a bit with it. It just as it starts to shape more, I guess that's what it's got. I kind of say the clay has a kind of a mind of its own too. Sometimes they just form themselves. It seems like sometimes it's you might say that clay has its own spiritual powers, I guess, because you'll sit here and you'll do what I'm doing like this, and all of a sudden it'll take its own shape. And I don't fight it. I just go with it. That's what this, like say like this, that ball I had earlier, that's the shape that I guess it wanted to go. And then if I pull this one out, I wonder what this one's gonna do. But then again, you can still put it back into the pookie and make what what was in your head. So we're also teaching our kids. I taught my kids, and now we're teaching the grandkids. Both parents are showing their kids how to make pottery. It's something to fall back on too, I think, because or unless your dream is to be a potter artist, you follow that dream. But our kids were making pottery when they were real small, like and they're still at the day school in elementary. It was a way to, they found a way to make money, make a living. But they wanted way back, they wanted toys and certain things, and I say, okay, well, there's some clay right there. Sit down, learn how, watch. We'll show you how, and they did. And come after the Indian market, the kids got money. Like, hey, they knew how to make money. So and if you go outside, you go gather your money right there and make it. Which is the clay. Which we're pretty. I think our people here at Jemez are really blessed. We have these types of ways given from our ancestors. And I also make moccasins. So I was taught that by my grandfather at a very young age and back in high school. So I do moccasins also, and I've shown my son how to do it. And I've done some classes with the tribe, teaching folks how to do it. And but my son, he's picked it up and he's carried. So, and hopefully his son, our grandson Darius, will pick it up too. But Darius is an artist. He can paint, he can draw, and he can do really nice pictures. And however, this year at the Indian market, he won't be in the booth this year because they're only allowing 2 people in the booth. And for now, the kids aren't allowed. They told me because because of what situations we're in. So see, this one, it's kind of taking the shape of this type of a pot, but I can still add a coil to it, and I don't really want to bring it like that because it's a little wider shape. I could, but then you'll start to, but that's the shape it's taking. So I can still set it for a little bit, put it in a small pookie so it doesn't collapse. But from here, I'm going to let it dry and sit upside down, and then and wait. And then later on, I'm gonna say maybe in the afternoon, I'm gonna get on this pot again, and then I'm gonna add some smaller coils to it just to raise it up just to maybe a little bit, and that should be it with this one. Yeah, because it took a real nice shape. It's real smooth inside, if you can see. Um, so I'm gonna leave this one here. I'm gonna turn it upside down, and I'll jump onto this one a little bit later. Okay, so that's one of the first steps of making a pot. And like I said, depends on the artist, it depends on what you got in your head. So the next step would be, once like that piece I just made to dry, would be something like this. So this one was in a puki. So this one was in here like this. Okay. So this is to where I added, and this one we designed a wedding dish. So this one is built up, split in the middle, then built up on the sides. But it wasn't done in one shot. This one took time, and because it has to dry a little bit to where the clay has to dry so it's gonna get a little bit stiff so it doesn't collapse on you. So if you do it all at once, you'll get a real fat pot, because it's gonna collapse. So you need that foundation to be stiff and strong to support, even if it's a bigger pot. If it's a bigger pot coming up, you want it to be stiff, and it takes time. It takes time. It just doesn't happen like that. So it'll build it, and you can finally get up to where you want. Because well, that's the way I do. That's the way our clay, the clay that I use, that's the way it works. After trial and error, this is the best way that I've found that to do my pots. Okay, so this one's ready to sand. I was gonna sand it, but I got the AC on it, and it's gonna blow all that fine dust all over. And usually I would sand this outside. So and we use the regular sandpaper, 60 grit on the first round. Then I'll put it on a block too, these sanding blocks, and go ahead and sand it, and then I'll finish it off with a 220 grit, real fine sandpaper, or a real fine sanding block, and that's how we'll get that one done on the next stage. So then once you get it all nice and fine, what I like to do is I call it wet sanding. So what I do is take a sponge, get some water on it, and this one has gone through the 220 grit. So what we'll do is get some water on this, not too much because it'll just run. So what you want to do is do the wet sanding. That way you can fill in all the gaps, little tiny holes, little dinks, and you can fill it in, because when you do this, you're actually moving the clay dust to fill in all those little holes and stuff. So you come out with a real nice finish to where the next step, you're going to do the stone polishing. So the stone polishing, so just like that, see? So that's the wet sanding, we call it, okay? Then I'll do that on the inside too, but we'll let it dry. I don't know if you can see. Can you see this? I don't know if you can see that. Too strong, or is that better? I won't turn it on until I do a little bit of etching. So it's ready. And let me do the inside too, just to get it all. So we'll do the inside too, because when you sand the inside too, you get a lot of dust in there, the fine dust. So you can also make the inside real smooth. I like making the inside really smooth too. Some like to keep it rough, kind of show that, hey, it's all handmade and stuff like that. But I like my insides really smooth because sometimes I do paint the inside too. Like this other pot I'll show you, I'll paint the inside. Some, if I can't get way back in there and the hole is real small, and I'll show you on some of these pieces over here. Um, I wanted to make them real pretty too inside because you never know. You look at it, pick it up, hey, that looks real pretty inside. It didn't because sometimes I use the mica red or mica orange or the one that turns gold. I'll do that on the inside. So when you pick it up, it sparkles and glistens on the inside too. And you know, I kind of like that. It's different. So not too many people do that. So here's another piece that I made. It doesn't have a hole in it. So it's like it's a hollow piece. It doesn't have a hole in it. And I usually stand them up like this. So you put the design in front, or you can do some in the back too. So instead of like a pot just sitting like this, you can turn it and turn it to different angles like that. And I do big too, real big ones. So this is another type that I do. This one's ready for the wet side, but I still got to do the bottom of it, make it flat. And there, what I do is I'll find a real flat piece like my board here that I'm working on, and put that sandpaper down and just make the bottom of it. So you got real careful because sometimes they come out crooked, you know. Then you're like, ah man, and you do the other side, and man, you're trying to get that flat piece, and you're like, and you keep going in and in and in, and all of a sudden you got a hole, you know, you went right through, you know. So you got to be careful of that part. So trial and error, you learn and learn, but then you think you messed up and all that, all of a sudden it turns into a different piece, or you go back to your clay and start again, you know. So it's fun and I like it. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun to do this. So the next step, like I said, would be going to the stone polishing, and I have my different types of polishing stones that I use. Some are kind of narrow, so you can get into those really tight crevices when I'm doing. You'll see. Oh well, okay now. To like if you're doing a melon design pot, you can get really into the grooves with these other stones that are kind of got the edges on them. So, and different sizes. And I have bigger ones that I use. So what you would do is I have another piece here that I've already stone polished and fired. Okay, so well, right after this process here, the next step would be to go with whatever color you want to stone polish. So I've done them in purple, I've done them in red, green, orange, white, name it. So and for example, like you get the red. Okay, get the red slip, which is this one here. Okay, so you take your brush. Okay, so you take your brush and you get on this pot. I'm not going to do it because once I start, I have to finish it. And it's going to take about 45 minutes, even for something like this size. Because I usually put either 3 to 4 coats on it. Okay, so the first coat will go on, and then you wait, let it dry. Not completely dry, still a little damp, and you go over the next one. Then you go over it, let it sit again. But at the same time, I'm doing like about maybe 3 of them. That way I can pick up the other one and start the other one. Pick up the other one, start it. Pick up the other one, start. So then so at least after the fourth coat, we'll go ahead and let it sit. And then what I'll take is some oil or some lard, some grease. Then I'll put it on top of it also. And then I'll get my stone, and then I'll start stone polishing it. So one of the stones, like this one, you'll start from here and just start polishing, going. Once you've done the whole thing, you set it down for a little bit. Then I'll pick up the other one. You know, like I said, I'll be doing 2 to 3 at the same time. Then by that time, that one's kind of dry again. So I'll go over it again. So I'll go over about 3 times. Oh, but before I do that, I'll get a rag and I'll rag shine it. So I'll get that rag like a t-shirt. Then I'll go ahead and do that and get that all done. And then comes the stone. So you know you can get a real good shine with just the rag polishing too. And some folks do that. They just go up to the rag shine, and that comes out real nice too. That's what is on your mind that day, and that's what you want to do. I won't use the stones on the slip that has the mica in it. But for like a piece like this one was this piece here. It's got deep carving, and it's got the mica. I think this one's got that mica brown on it. And in the firing, if it was just a regular firing, it would turn like a golden color. But this one, I used the smoke. So I covered, after the first firing, I covered it. And I don't use sheep manure or cow manure, horse manure. I just cover it and I use the wood smoke. And I make sure I smoke it real good with just the wood. And that's how that gold paint, the brown paint that turns gold, turned a black. So, but after I painted this, I rag shined it. So it's got that really shiny without the stone, because it'll ruin my stone with that mica in there. It'll put a lot of dinks in my polishing stone. So I use a rag shine for that. And then that's how this one comes out. It's a melon pot. It's got the really, really pretty mica in it, and it really sparkles up on this pot. And even inside, this one's got the mica in it too, so it's really, really nice. So, so after that, the stone polish is done. What we do is you'll get a piece like I've got this piece here. This piece here. So I painted it. It's got the red stone polishing around, and it hasn't been fired yet. The top, it's got the orange mica on it. So once it's fired, this whole thing up on top is gonna sparkle out. So on the bottom, I put a bunch of colors in it. So it's got the white, the yellow, orange, purple, green, gold. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think this one's got six colors in it. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. It's got 8 colors in it. So the next step is I'm gonna outline it with my brown mica. I usually outline all of my pottery pieces with a brown, real dark brown mica paint slip. So this one's ready for that process. Then once I get it nice and pretty with the outline, it'll be fired outside, and we'll see how it turns out. We'll just say some prayers to the fire and see what the fire is going to give us that day. Yeah. Hopefully the wind's not blowing, or you try to fire on the day that it's not windy, because one side's going to get hot, the other, so we've had different types of firing, but sometimes they come out pretty cool, like the gut character that you say, but it happens. So this is another piece that's in the process. This is a plate. It's carved up on top. And in the middle, I'm going to do a hummingbird scene. It's got 2 hummingbirds here and here. I hope you can see it. And it'll be in the multiple colors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in like a shadow box picture frame stuck on there. I've done a couple of these ones too, in a round plate in a picture frame box. And that's how this one's going to go on this flat piece. So I do the flat pieces. I do like plates, those big tiles also. Yeah, so that'll be going to the next portion. So let me go ahead and show you my tools that I use for etching. They're like a little lead pencil, but I took out the lead and put a needle in it. So, and this one's a needle with the X-Acto blade deal, but I took out the blade and put a needle in this one too. So this is what I draw the designs on with. Then once I do that, I come back and take out a little bit bigger chunks, make the lines bigger or the drawing bigger with the X-Acto blade knives. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this light on so I can see a little bit. I'm gonna do a little bit of etching on this pot, which I already drew the design on. I just thought I'd draw the design, and it's gonna be a feather design up on top, with steps of life on top. Then we got a little like a rain cloud design on the bottom of it. Okay, so, and let me just do a little bit. I think I'm running out of time, about 15 more minutes. So what I do is I'll go in and just start marking and just following the lines. Back when I started, I didn't need glasses. Now I do. Yep. So basically you're just following the pattern and you're go ahead and etching. And every now and then you got to sharpen your tip because it's fired, so it's hard. That's why sometimes I like doing it before the fire, like this one. That one's not fired yet, and that one would be easy to etch, to put your designs on. So that one's still got some work to do on that one. Hopefully it'll be ready for the market. So like I said, once I draw out the pattern with the needle point, then I'll come back in with the X-Acto blade and go ahead and straighten out and take all the kinks out of the lines that you're working on. So I don't know if you can see it, but kind of scratching basically. And then as you get the whole pattern down, that's when you start going a little bit deeper with the other blade to get that deeper cut into the pot. And then once you're all done with that, then you can move into one of your finished products. So this one's called Migration. So it's got your deep pattern and your multiple colors. It's got the white on top with the mica in it. So that white slip's got mica in it, so it sparkles up. Then it's got the outline, that dark brown I was talking about. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. It's got your green, your yellow, and your orange, which has the mica in it. And the other two don't have mica in it, but that's the outline that I do the painting. So this is one of my finished products. This one's called Migration. It's got your star cut out on top. So remember when I was telling you that with the pot that I was making, you can make different types of tops. So like this one, it's got more of your seat pot type of a top on it, and it's kind of like a wave. I kind of like put like water wave. I call it my water waves on top of some of them. And this one is called Rainbow Spirits. It's got all the colors. It's stone polish. mica, got everything in this one too. And it's got your top is, like I said, your wavy top. So it represents the rain. It's called rainbow spirits. So all these are those rain sheets coming down. Like on those days when you're out in the, driving and you see some black rain clouds way out in the distance, you see those sheets of rain coming down. That's what this represents. And also the rainbow that comes out. Yeah. So this is when you can see the dark brown that I use. Yeah. I can turn the camera and show you the other pieces. So, right. Okay, so that's about how we do things with the dip, with the how I make pottery. So let me jump on this side. This is a piece that it's a vase. So like I said, you can form these differently, and this one went straight up instead of making the typical traditional kind of a bowl. This one has your deep carvings up on top and on all the way around, and I also pick it out. Some of the pots you'll see it's rough, like rough cut here. I pick it out by hand to get the rough texture into it too. This one's called the mountain water spirit. So it's up in Tewa, up in the north, they call it Avanyu, but here we call it Wanakyokya. It's the water spirit. It's water. So, and this was fired outside. And remember I was telling you about how the wind sometimes gets the pot hot to where it came out really cool, So there's a lot of dark colors, and it was painted with that gold mica and the red. And that's the two colors that I used on this one. And this is what it came out. So it's got your kind of the light color, the gold in it, and the dark, and also the light. Like I said, the fire gives you, you just stand there and pray, and it'll give you something very beautiful. And then I just accept what it gives me, and then that's what goes off to my clients and my customers. That wedding vase that I was working on, I have one that's finished. I call it Romance. And you can see I call this my puzzle design. It represents different faces of the earth, continents, you might call them, islands, and all represent different peoples that live on this earth. The rainbows, and it's got all the colors. And this one is dabbed. So I get the brush and I dab each color that I have, I dab it. So it's dabbed all the way around. So it's got both the hummingbird design on both sides. So that one that we're working on is going to be something similar to this one. It's got the purple in it. It's really pretty. I wish you guys could see it live and hold it. This is another one. Like I said, I used a different cookie. I used a square bowl to get this shape. This one I call water spirits. I got the turtle, water turtle, the trout, your frog, and your dragonfly, because you always see dragonflies around water. So I call it the water spirits. It's got your puzzle design again, deeply carved and then etched. So that's this piece. This big one here, if you can see it, that one took second place at the Indian market last year, but the year before before COVID hit. So this one has a ribbon on this one. So hopefully we'll get another ribbon come August. On this piece, this one's called River Spirits. This one has your dragonfly design, and it's got lots of work in this one. It's got your mountain trout. There's 4 of them on each side. It's got your Kiva kilt designs on top. these are all the designs that we use on our kilts, on our dancing kilts, and when we dance and we use. So all for blessings. All some of them represent the constellations, some of them represent the sun, the clouds, the rain, everything for blessings. And it's got the water movements in it, and it's got that puzzle design. And I don't know, it took me about maybe a year and a half to make this one. So it takes a lot of time, and because you don't want to rush them, it takes time to and just to build a thing. It took a long time because you have to let it dry, move it up, dry, move it, and it's all done by hand, and it's all done in that one of those pookies, and so none of it is molded or anything, like poured into a mold and boom, presto, you got it. So this is another one here. It's a Melon Design vase. This one has the red and the orange mica, and that's the colors. And you can still see that the bottom of it, of the original color of the red. So this is another melon. This is the orange mica, which was rag shined. So that's how this one came out. And like I said, it's got the deep, deep carving. So when you're making a pot, you got to figure out, okay, when you're going to start working, okay, I made it kind of thick so I can go deep into it. Because if it's not too thick and you go in, and you're going to go right through it once you get that blade going. This is one of our ornaments that I have left. It's a flat piece. This one's got the black. It turned black. It was I think this one was the orange mica. And so this one's got the sgraffito feather design, cloud, and I put some stars up on top with the steps of life design in the middle. So, it makes a real nice ornament, or wall hanging also. And these are some of the pots that I just did the rack shine on. So I can sell them as is. This one actually was a red one, a red pot, a red slip. Or I can still do the designs on this one too, but a lot of people like them just plain also. And this one is the red stone polish pot, really shiny type of a seat pot. Yeah. So even this one can be, sometimes you look at it and go, all that work, and you did all that work, and then you draw and you put a design on it. Man, that shine just looks really good too, So that's sometimes you got to think about that. And I said, oh, well, I can make another one. I said, but this one has the gold, that brown paint that turns gold. So you can see that on the bottom. It's still a little bit of a golden color. And this is another type of a seat pot. Yeah. So these are my finished products that we have for sale also. And so the next one will probably go into that part. If I can get this one outlined and fired. And I'm thinking of putting a ladder in it, like a kiva pot. Or I don't know. It'll come to me.
Yes, Aaron, thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was such a treat. That migration piece is just completely incredible. I'm a huge fan of that one.
Oh, that one over there?
Mm-hmm.
This one?
So we have one question that has come in from Rob, who was one of the wonderful co-organizers of this program, asking if you can mix the various colors of paint.
You know what? You can. And on these paints, I haven't had any problems of, because sometimes, we'll be honest, those white ones, there's 3 white ones. And if you forget which one you're using, you'll dip it into the other one, and all of a sudden you forgot, and all of a sudden you fire it, and you get this crazy color. I'm like, how the hell I get that? Yeah, because especially those white ones, because one of the white ones turns yellow, one of them turns beige, and the other one turns like a grayish color. So every now and then it's kind of a messed up or screwed up thing, but actually it comes out real pretty. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we are about out of time, and we don't have that many questions, which I think shows how well you explained everything. But we do have
Oh, okay.
one last question just came in, which I think would be a great place to end it.
Okay.
Asking where we can purchase your work for sale.
Well, right now, you can just call me or go to my email. It's cajaroaaron@yahoo.com. And I'll be at the Indian market. I'll be in booth. Let me see. Okay, for now, well, I was in the past FRS 313, but my new number is Palace, PAL North N232. So I'll be there with my daughter, Terry Cajero. And so if these pieces don't move, they'll be all there, and hopefully I'll add some more. Hopefully I'm thinking about maybe 10 more pieces, because they're not that easy to make.
That is clear. Yes.
Yeah, maybe I can get those ones that are already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I can get those ready, and that one I just made. And these two right here, especially this plate, I think this plate's going to look really nice.
Yeah.
I've had that one for a while. I think I need to finish it up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that turns out. So thank you so much, Aaron, for spending your morning with us and sharing so much wonderful information. It was really fascinating to hear all about all the different slips that you use and your process and everything. So, and stay tuned for more information on next month's program, like I said, on our Facebook page and our website. And thank you.
One more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. If you are interested in one of these pieces, just let me know, and then we can talk about price and all that, and we do down payments too. Yeah. Yeah. So hey, thanks again, and it was fun. Now I got to get to work.
All right, sounds great. Have a good
Okay.
afternoon, everybody. Thank you
Okay,
for
bye-bye.
watching.